What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be jumping in and doing a team building guide for the newest Super Battle Road stage that just came out on Global, the Connected Hope stage. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the Connected Hope category. This category has gotten quite a few buffs over the last year or so. I would definitely say that this team is much more capable than it was before, right? Especially with the inclusion of Orange Piccolo and stuff. And then obviously once the 8th anniversary hits, we're going to get more updates. So it is a little bit of unfortunate timing that there are some of the strongest characters on this team, being like the 8th anniversary LRs, that we don't actually have access to using yet. So unfortunately, we're going to have to find some other builds. But like I said, there are some pretty good other cards here. So as per usual, we're going to go through all the cards that I think are best, and then at the end of the video, we'll switch over to the game, and I'll show you guys a few teams that I have put together that I think maybe could take down this stage. Okay, so first up, we've got the AGL Pycon here. I included him as the very first card because he is I believe the only unit that I have listed here that is a true Connected Hope leader. So if you wanted to run a generic Connected Hope team, like if you're a newer player and you don't have access to just all of these different cards in game, so you might not be able to build like a sub team inside the Connected Hope category, then this guy would be a really solid unit for you to bring as a leader. Obviously, you're only going to have 170% to your stats because he is not a 200% lead, but 170% should be enough for you for sure, especially maybe if you can swing using a 200% lead as your friend lead. Then that could be good for you, because there are a few different 200% teams that you can run that he does fall under the leader skill of, right? But this guy is really good because he greatly lowers attack, which is really strong for Super Battle Road. Remember that you can inflict the enemies with any type of status conditions that you want: attack and defense lowering, stunning, sealing, the works, right? So that is mainly what makes this guy useful, because he has that, and then he also has the sealing in his passive skill if you were to select a rainbow key sphere. And then he also gets, he has a high chance of evading with that rainbow key sphere, and then he gives the support with 3 or more type key spheres as well. And then he does have the active skill that works like his little ghost usher thing against a single enemy. That you're only able to proc that starting from the 4th turn, and the enemy needs 50% or more HP, and you have to be facing only one enemy. So this is not a very strong, Super Battle Road active skill. I don't think that you're going to see this often, but he does have it, so worst comes to worst, you could use it. Okay, so then we have Mac Daddy Orange Piccolo himself. I probably don't need to spend too much time on this unit. Everyone knows that this guy is absolutely amazing. Yeah, it's for sure going to be one of the strongest units that you can run in this Super Battle Road stage. It's also worth noting that he is one of the stronger leaders that you could potentially use. There are a lot of Battle of Wits and superhero category units on Connected Hope, so he can absolutely be a 200% lead that you run. So then we have the STR Piccolo, who absolutely you would want to run on this stage. He's going to be one of the best possible defensive units. He's a really solid support unit as well. And then, he looks really good right next to Orange Piccolo. The two of them can feed as a rotation with the slot 1 and slot 2 units, and they have lots of good links together and stuff. Okay, so then we have the Hachiyak movie Super Saiyan Goku here. He is another possible potential 200% lead that you could run. There are lots of Battle of Wits, category units, so if you wanted to be able to have 2 of this guy on the team for some reason, I would say it's definitely more in your interest, better in your interest to go with the Orange Piccolo, because he has the 2-part leader skill. But then with Piccolo, the difference is you need, he's only giving 170% to all those units, and then you'd have to hope that those units are also on Movie Heroes or Bond of Master and Disciple to get the 200%. Whereas if you ran this guy as your leader, then any unit that you throw that's on Battle of Wits is going to be covered by that 200% rather than just the 170. So that could be a benefit to having this guy as your leader. But I don't think that this card himself is nearly as good as the Piccolo would be. So it would definitely be more beneficial to have 2 Piccolos on the team versus 2 of this guy. So just things to consider as you build your team. But yeah, this guy is going to be really solid. He does need quite a bit of build-up to look amazing, though. Each attack he received, he's getting 15% attack and defense up to 75, so he does have to get all those hits before he does look really good. But he does have 30% damage reduction. He has some some support here. And then if you run him as a slot 1 unit, that can be very good too, because if you get off his 18 key super, then everybody gets attack boosts as well. So yeah, this guy definitely is one of the more solid units that you can have. Okay, then Beast Gohan, another potential leader that you could run. I think Hybrid Saiyans is probably not as good as Battle of Wits, so I would say, at least for, like, the crossover between the Connected Hope category, right? So yeah, I would say this guy is probably not as good of a leader for you, but definitely still could be used as a leader if you wanted to. And then obviously, we know that this guy is great. Okay, so now we're going to be moving into some not quite as obvious top tier picks here. So we've got the Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. I actually didn't even bother checking if you could run a full power team here. It's probably not necessary, though, because it's only 170% leader skill. I usually like to focus on building the teams with the 200% leader skills, or just whatever leader skill is for the actual category, like the 170 that we use for, for PyCon. But this guy can be really good. I guess the main thing to note about his passive skill here is this. He has the medium chance to evade and counter. So that can be really, really helpful if you get lucky enough, for him to evade some super attacks. Then, obviously he's going to be saving you quite a bit of HP and potentially saving your life. So that can be really good. And then if you do have another full power category ally on the team, and your HP is below 59%, then he gets a free Scouter, which could be really, really good for Super Battle Road, where there could be potentially, 3 and 4 super attacks per turn. So yeah, that guy could be a pretty good fill-in option. And then we have the Dokkan Fest Bardock. Same deal here. He could be another decent fill-in option. I suppose you could run him as a lead as well. He is a 200% leader. But this guy is just not nearly as good. I suppose if you had to, you could run this guy as a leader. I think you could find enough, Goku's family units and stuff to fill out a full team here, but yeah, I don't know that it would be, super wise. We're not going to be facing off against any Frieza enemies, I believe. Yeah, we're not. There's no Frieza enemies here, so he's not going to be looking too amazing. And then obviously this guy does have to do multiple super attacks in order to build up all these stats. So turn 1, he is going to be, a bit of a liability. The main reason that I brought him in here is for his entrance animation. You just need to have another Goku on the team. Wait. Let me make sure I have that right. Foresees enemy super attack. Okay, so he gets the Scouter for 5 turns. You need to have... when there's an ally whose name includes Goku on the team, or when there's... Yeah. So as long as we just have a Goku with him, then he'll be able to have the Scouter up for the first 5 turns, which can be super, super good if you paired him with having... who is it? This guy on the team. Because once he receives 10 attacks, he gets a Scouter. So basically... well, actually, it's Super Battle Road. You're probably not going to have more than 5-turn fights anyway. So I imagine if you did have this guy as your leader and your friend lead, then that could be really beneficial because you would have a Scouter active for basically the entirety of the Super Battle Road. And that could be very, very good for you. So, maybe I should try and build a team with this guy. Maybe he could be a little better than I initially was thinking. Because he does get the great defense raise on Super, so maybe he can tank. Yeah, I'll have to look into that and see. Okay, so next up, we've got the Mai cards. Both of these Mai cards are really good options to fill in. Keep in mind that both of the Mai cards are on superheroes, so you can run them on the Piccolo or the Gohan team. But they are both here as amazing stunners for you. Yeah, they both have really, really good stunning kits, so that's basically the main idea here. I would say the AGL Mai is certainly better, as she has been easy aid, so her stats are higher. And then, she's gotten some buffs in her kit as well as, wow, there are so many Scouters available on the Connected Hope team. I didn't realize. She can foresee enemy super attack when your HP is 50% or less at the start of turn there. So that could be really good. Okay, so moving on here, we've got the Physical Tien. Now, this guy is kind of a sleeper. Most people would assume that this unit has just aged out and is kind of unusable. And for most content, That is very true. I wouldn't take this guy into like a red zone run or anything. But for Super Battle Road, he is actually still very, very usable for a couple of different reasons. So let's take a look. The first thing to note is that in his super attack effect, he greatly lowers attack and defense, which is such a strong ability. Lowering attack and defense is decent. You know, because lowering attack and defense, I believe, is only like 10% or 15%, maybe 20%. But it's not as much. Greatly lowering, as you can see here, greatly lowering is by 30%, and it activates for 3 turns. So that is actually a really, really hefty ability that he's getting here, especially if you're able to get an additional super attack, and he does this effect twice, because that effect will stack on the enemy. So if you're able to get them, you know, their attack reduced by 30%, potentially 60%, they're going to be doing a lot less damage to you, which is really, really good. And then this guy is also giving Majin Buu category supports, you know, 30% attack and 50% defense, so that could be really good. There are quite a few Connected Hope characters on the Majin Buu Saga category, so that can be good. And then he also has this high chance to stun built into his passive, which obviously it's only a 1-turn stun here, but that can be really good if you're just floating him as a slot 3 unit. Then you'd make sure whatever unit is going to still be liable to give him damage at the end of the turn, you just have him stun them, and then, you know, 50% chance that will proc. So yeah, this guy could be really, really good. Definitely not the worst unit to have around. And then, as far as his links go, actually his links are not that good, are they? Yeah, I mean, he's got 1 or 2 good links here with experienced fighters and solid support, but that's about it. Okay. Okay, so if you noticed so far, all of the units that I suggested we use are super type. Connected Hope is mostly a super type category. There are very few extreme type units on the team. For that reason, I would suggest mainly focusing on using super type units. But if you did, if you weren't able to build a full team out of all the units that we just talked about, then potentially here are a decent few options I'm throwing in at the end, just as suggestions here. So we do have the Super Strike Android 16, always a very good unit. If he's on the leader skill, he will be a good unit on the category, mainly for this, because he guards all attacks when facing 3 or more enemies, and then he reduces damage received by 60% when guard is activated. So if we go ahead and take a look at the Super Battle Road stage itself, on the first phase, he's going to have guard active because you have 3 enemies. He's not going to automatically get his guard for the second 2 fights, but he will, actually, because you have a tech unit in both of the fights, and he is an int type, so he already is going to have guard procced automatically, which means that 60% damage reduction that he's going to get from having his guard active will proc when he gets hit by those tech enemies. So he is going to be a really, really solid defensive unit to bring into this Super Battle Road stage, for sure. So then if we take a look here, he gets an additional 80% defense when facing 2 or less enemies. So for the second 2 fights, and then after you've killed 1 enemy in the first fight, he will proc this additional defense, which is just going to help him tank even better, right? And then, let's see, he has a high chance of guarding all attacks when all allies in the turn are Android Cell Saga category units. So that's the only portion of his kit that probably isn't going to be active. I don't think that you're going to have other, Android Cell Saga characters around to give him this portion. But as we just established, you're probably not going to need it. So yeah, aside from that, he doesn't have really good links that are going to pair up with many of the other units. I mean, I suppose he has Tough as Nails. So if you are bringing some of those Piccolo units on this team, then he'd have that with them. But that's about it. Like, all of these other links are not going to be relevant. Like, Gentleman is a bad link, Android Assault, Mechanical Menaces, Soul vs. Soul, Super Strike, literally all of them. So, yeah, that's just the unfortunate side of him being, like, one of the only extreme type units on the category. Okay, so then the last 2 units that we have here are both Majin Vegetas. So we've got the LR and the Dokkan Fest. So starting with the LR, the only reason I have included him here is because he does have an AoE. So if you're able to get off his Ultra Super attack, his 18 key, then he is going to cause colossal damage to all enemies with a medium chance of stunning each of them. So that could be very good. Keep in mind that he does need Bulma allies to reduce damage received. He needs Kid Trunkses to get additional stats. He needs a Goku enemy to get crits and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces of his kit that are not going to proc, but simply for the fact that he can, you could throw him in slot 3, and then if you're able to get that 18 key with him, which hopefully if you're using him on the team, you're also using like PyCon and other support units that can give key and maybe Rainbow Orb Change and stuff to allow this guy to be able to get his 18 key. And then, he could potentially be dishing out quite a few stuns and stuff for you, which could be very, very helpful. But yeah, I wouldn't count on this guy being able to like flatten the enemy field, because without most of his passive active from having all these other units around, his stats are going to look a little bit lower, and he is potentially going to be a liability to get you killed. And he's certainly not going to just be like one-shotting and killing enemies and stuff, right? Also, no, he doesn't get a heal here. I was thinking, so when his HP is 30% or less, he gets a free crit and 12 key. So that is nice. So if you are in a critical turn, and he does show up, then you are gonna for free get that AoE and stuff, right? And it will be a guaranteed crit on the AoE, so that turn you potentially could do a lot of damage. But obviously that's dependent on you being below 30% HP, which is really hard to do. So yeah, this guy is, I would say, decent at best. And then I'm going to kind of give the same rating here for this guy. There are not enough good Majin Buu Saga or Vegeta family characters to make a full team to have him as your leader. So that is a bit bummy. Obviously, if you're able to have this guy as the leader and then fill out a full team that works well around him, then he's an absolute monster. The problem is you don't really have that here. So I anticipate that he's going to struggle to link up with a lot of the other units here. Based on the units the links that he has. Also, in order for this guy to pretty much be runnable at all, he does need this. He needs to have another unit on the team with the name Trunks included in the title of the character's name to get this extra 30% damage reduction. Because then when you select, 6 key spheres here, then he gets an additional 20% damage reduction. So with only the 20% damage reduction from the 6 key spheres, he's still going to be taking hits. But if you have the additional 30%, giving him a total of 50% damage reduction on top of all the attack and defense that he has, then he is definitely going to be a really solid defensive unit. And you could potentially even depend on him as a slot 1 rotating unit. Now, the problem with that is, how many Trunkses did I just show you? I'm holding up a big fat 0 in my hands right now, because there's not a single Trunks on Connected Hope who is worthy of tanking on the Connected Hope team, basically. Like, they're all bad. I would say there's maybe one. It's this guy. Pretty much this is it. I guess we could take a look at him real quick just so you can see, but this would be like your only option. And he is actually a Connected Hope leader, so you would have the 150% lead there if you did use him as a leader, but you could certainly throw him on the team, and then you'd be able to have the, the 50% damage reduction for the Majin Vegeta. But I just don't, I don't know if this guy's good enough. Like, it's tough to say. It's really tough to say. So he greatly raises defense on 18 key super, which is nice. And then he also gets a regular defense raise on his normal 12 key. So if you're able to get additionals, you can get multiple defensive stacks in one turn, which is certainly helpful. He is an orb changer as well, which could work out really well with the AGL Majin Vegeta, because he's providing you AGL orbs that the Majin Vegeta would need, right? So that could be something to consider. Then he's got an additional defense 58%, chance of performing a crit, reduces damage received by 8% with 5 or more key spheres obtained. Okay. I'm not really concerned about the attack stuff too much, so some additional defense and damage reduction with 5 or more key spheres. And then he gets some more damage reduction with 5 or more AGL key spheres, which again should be easy to do considering he's providing you with the key spheres himself. And then he launches a guaranteed additional with 8 or more key spheres obtained. So if you're able to get at least 5 AGL key spheres, and then a mix of 3 other key spheres of like either AGL type or rainbow type to give him a total of 8 key spheres, then he's going to be getting 2 guaranteed supers, which gives you the great defense raise and the regular defense raise. Another potential additional from your hidden potential system, which has 2 chances to proc from both of your super attacks. And then he's also getting 16% damage reduction and an additional 58% defense. Maybe he could tank. Probably not slot 1, because he would have to proc all these super attack effects first, right? But yeah, maybe. And then he also does have his revive mechanic, so that is another thing to remember. His exchange conditions, so can be activated when HP is 58% or less starting from the 3rd turn of battle, and then once you activate the exchange, he is able to get the revive. And once he does the revive, then he reduces damage received by 58% for the rest of the battle. So I don't know, maybe this guy would be good enough. I think maybe I was sleeping on this guy as far as like, he just has a lot of utility in his kit, right? There's a lot of stuff. You know, he's even got the scouter here once he, once he revives and stuff when your HP is low and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe this guy could be potentially usable, potentially. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and switch over to in-game, and we will take a look at the teams that I have put together here. Alright, so this is the first team that I have put together here. We have basically just a full Battle of Wits team. As you can see, a very, very solid team, indeed. Like, there's so much power here between, half of these units are going to tank for double digits, and then the other half just have a bunch of, like, stunning and sealing capability. This is a very, very strong team. This is probably the team that I'm going to take down the stage with, maybe. We'll see. So then the next up team that we have, very similar, as you can see here, but now that we're using Piccolo as the lead, we can also include characters that are on Superhero and not just Battle of Wits. So as you can see, we have most of the same units, but we are able to include the Beast Gohan there and take off one of the Mais, which I think maybe makes this team just even that much stronger. So yeah, maybe I would actually use, this is probably the team that I would use, because then you can use 2 of the Orange Piccolo as your lead-in friendly. This team is definitely stronger, I would say. But yeah, as you can see here, most of the same units, because they are all pretty much the strongest units on the category. Okay, so then next up here, I did actually put together a Bardock team here. So, as you can see, it's mostly Goku's family, and then it's super clutch that the Pikkon is actually on storied figures. So, every unit here, because they're all, or I guess what you need is Pure Saiyans for the 300%, or the 200%, right? Pure Saiyans, yeah. So 4 of the units are on the 200% leader skill here, as opposed to, all 6. Oh, actually, I guess it's worth mentioning here, too, that a lot of these units on the Piccolo team are actually not on the 200%, because Bond and Master and Disciple Movie Heroes, I don't think Mai would be on that. Bond of Master and Disciple Movie Heroes, no. So, she's not on that. And then I don't think Pikkon is either. Yeah, and Pikkon's not. Everyone else should be, because they're all on Movie Heroes. Yeah, so, so just the 2 AGL units are only on the 170 lead for this team. Whereas that would be the trade-off of this team being better, that everyone's on the 200%. But yeah, this is definitely not a bad team. I could see this team working, for sure. It's definitely not quite as good. We really were kind of making a stretch there with the physical LR Bardock. The only reason I included him is because he has the ability to seal on his super attack, so he can be a decent, just, floating rotation unit for you. Get off some seals for you and help out with a decent amount of damage as well. So, yeah, hopefully you guys are able to build a team between any of the units that I have showed you. I could also put together just like a generic Connected Hope team with a Connected Hope leader, but I don't really see the benefit in doing that, considering all of the units I would choose to put on that team to stack it anyway, you've already seen in these teams. So it would just be another iteration of these same teams with all the same units, just with a weaker leader, because you'd be using 170% lead instead of a 200%. So yeah, hopefully this has been very informative for you guys, and I wish you the best of luck in taking down the Super Battle Road stage. So that is going to do it for this one, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace!